Hello, and welcome to the first edition of our notes with me, your favorite world history teacher, Coach Bowman. Today, we will begin our unit on ancient Greece. It is one of my favorite topics to discuss. I had the privilege of traveling to Greece, particularly in Athens, and staying there for a couple of weeks. So, a lot of great memories, a lot of interesting experiences, and I miss the fact of sharing these with you in person. However, I will add some of the stories to it. So hopefully you have your set of notes ready. Again, this is Ancient Greece Part One, which is geography and religion. It's relatively short, so here we go. When we look at the geography of Greece, this is the first time that we will be discussing Europe in this class. This is also the first civilization that we will be discussing that has not been located on a river. It's truly one of those first major civilizations outside the river valley systems that we will be discussing. So, looking at the geography, it truly the physical geography truly has influenced and shaped Greek culture, uh, Greek economy, the social aspects and political developments were all uh, changed and influenced by the physical geography around the Aegean basin. The Aegean basin, when you use the word basin, that means the coast of something, a coast of a body of water. As you can see, the Aegean Sea is right here underneath the red ship. And so the Aegean basin would include all these islands along Ionia, which is today Western Turkey, as well as the eastern coast of Greece. So, again, the Aegean Sea is here, and the coast is also known as the basin. So, the Aegean basin is the Aegean coastline. The geography also plays a major role with a lot of benefits. First of all, it's a peninsula. This is something that we're going to be using a lot of for the next several units. A peninsula, again, is a area of land that has water on three sides. A lot of students have a tendency to say it's a area of land that has surrounded by water on three sides. Well, first of all, if it's surrounded by water, it's an island, as you see here at the bottom of the map. The island of Crete is completely surrounded by water. The peninsula, as you see here, has water on one, two, three sides. So that's your difference between an island and peninsula. Being on this peninsula, it gave Greece natural harbors. These are areas that are deeper and allows ships to meet the docks directly. Uh, think of it kind of like the like a dock at a lake that you can tie your boat up to. It's a direct drop. It doesn't have a gradual shoreline like down to Virginia Beach and where you wade out into the ocean. So natural harbors were a huge benefit for travel, for navies, for fishing, things of that nature. Being on a peninsula, it's easy to defend, especially from land attacks. Again, referencing the map here on the right, the only area that they would truly have to worry about a land attack would be from the north. So the coastline, the ocean and the seas itself truly was a natural barrier. And so they truly made it a lot easier living on a peninsula to defend from that one area of attack. As I already mentioned, it had good sea trade. The harbors helps out with that situation. Um, The land itself for Greece wasn't very feasible for farming. This is one of the downsides of the geography of Greece. It's very rocky, very mountainous. Now I have some pictures I'll show you here in a few minutes of that. However, in order for them, the Greeks, to receive certain goods for trade, they would have to gather them from other places, and so sea trade becomes a huge economic um, avenue for the Greeks. So here are some images that I took when I was on the island of Hydra. As you can see, especially this top picture here, how they went and built building their structures onto the rocky cliffs. As you can see here in the left, defenses of the harbor. And you would see how later on in more modern history, they would add cannons and things of that nature to help protect the harbor even further. This is an image from our textbook, the Amorgos Island, and you can see where the land truly just fades into the sea. Beautiful waters, very crystal clear, um, but again, it's definitely the geography played a major role, put it that way, in Greek culture. This is another image that I like to show my students. And as you see in the question, doesn't really look good for farming, does it? Very, very arid, which is another word for dry. Um, Very rocky, as you can see here. It's not very flat. What you do see here, as I point with the cursor, is what's called terrace farming, Terrace. We'll discuss that a little further on in the year, but it's where in this case the Greeks cut into the mountain to expose soil for farming. So, if you do hear background noise, I do apologize. It is starting to pour, and so you might hear that over this video. In fact, I'll pause right there, and that will be your bonus word for the Greek vocab quiz, or the Greek, not vocab, but the quiz for 5-1 and 5-2. The bonus word is rain, RAIN. Again, please email that to me, and you will receive 5 points on your 5.1 and 5.2 Greece quiz. Again, bonus word is rain. Speaking of water, let's take a look at the major bodies of water that help protect Greece. As I've already mentioned, you have the Aegean Sea, the Mediterranean Sea, the Black Sea, and the Strait of Dardanelles. As far as land goes, we have the Balkan Peninsula, the Peloponnesus Peninsula. We are located in Southeast Europe. Asia Minor is close by, also known as Anatolia, or today we call it Turkey. The city of Athens, the city of Sparta, and the ancient city of Troy. These three city states were major players in ancient Greece, which we'll discuss throughout the PowerPoint. Last but not least, we will have the civilization of the kingdom known as Macedonia. Some of you might read it as Macedon in your textbook. This is a little territory north of what we will call Greece today, and it would later on lead to the downfall of the ancient civilization of Greece. So here's a blank map, and I will quickly add the things to it and show you where things are. Again, you have the Black Sea, which is barely poking in there. You have in the circle right there the Strait of Dardanelles. Now, a strait is a geographical term meaning a small, thin strip of water that connects two massive bodies of water. So this is a Sea of Mara Mara, that goes through and connects it to this big body of water, which you might have already guessed it, is the Aegean Sea. And you do have a ton of islands in the Aegean Sea. So, seafaring, ship building, fishing, sea trade was a huge, major part of Greek life. Down to the south, you have the Mediterranean Sea. And this is the major body of water that will connect the Greeks and later on the Romans to places like Egypt and North Africa, as well as the Middle East. So there's Europe. This is Europe kind of cuts around in this region here, and this is your Asia Minor, as you can see, Asia Minor, right here, also known as Anatolia or Turkey. This larger peninsula as a whole, this huge peninsula here, if you drew like a dotted line going down from this corner down to this corner, this would all be considered the Balkan Peninsula. Now you might say, hey, isn't this peninsula by itself? And that is true. In this circle itself, you have a smaller peninsula. That is the Peloponnesus Peninsula. And that will play a major role in Greek history later on. We won't talk about it in this PowerPoint, but in future PowerPoints we will. In Asia Minor, you will find the ancient city of Troy, which a lot of Greeks, a lot of historians as well, believe was just an ancient fairy tale told by the author Homer, who discussed in his books and stories of the Iliad and the Odyssey, the Trojan War, based on this city. For a long time, a lot of people believed that it was, like I said, just a myth or a legend, but historians and archaeologists did find remnants of a city that date back to that time period and were able to find evidence to indicate that Troy truly did exist. In the Peloponnesus Peninsula, you will find the city of Sparta. And then over on the coast, just kind of northeast, you would find the city of Athens. So these major cities played major roles throughout Greek history. And then, of course, last but not least, the territory here up in the north of Macedonia, or the Kingdom of Macedon. So as you can see in this map, I really like this map. It came from the textbook. The different areas of and you can look at the key and the legend of certain things where certain materials came from. So as you saw in some of the pictures, the territory, the land, geography, whatever you want to call it, was not favorable for farming. So the Greeks would have to trust and trade, and it was quite a huge economic change for the Greek people when you compare it to the other four civilizations we have discussed so far this year. So again, think about these questions at the top that you see there. How did the geography of Greece present obstacles to unity? So again, the physical, obviously the physical there, you're having huge mountains, and it's just some of the mountains are just beautiful that I saw when I was there. But you do have a lot of physical barriers that these mountains and the bodies of water prevented unification of these different territories in Greece. And then the second question is, how did the geography of Greece differ from that of other ancient civilizations? I've already answered that question there for you. The geography prevented things like farming, and so it forced the Greeks to trade. So now we're going to take a look at one of the, in the past several years, students tend to enjoy talking about Greek mythology. I wish we can spend more time on it. Unfortunately, we can't afford to do that, but we do have a lot to discuss on it. So here we go. One of my favorite pictures is this one because it definitely shows the different gods and goddesses of ancient Greece. So when we begin talking about mythology of Greece, first we need to discuss the word polytheistic again. We've mentioned it before in previous PowerPoints, but again, when we look at ancient Greece, this is a true definition of a polytheistic style of religion, meaning you have multiple gods and goddesses. It's going to influence Greek culture, politics, and art tremendously. You'll have certain holidays. You'll pieces of artwork as you see there. The statue of Hera, the goddess, the queen of the gods, and it will also have major effects on Western civilization. When we talk about Western civilization, we're talking about um, Europe. We're talking about the Americas, and we will see evidence of Greek mythology in symbols, images, metaphors, certain words that we use. Like, for instance, the name of that ship that sank because of a piece of ice, Titanic. You see the word Titan in the word Titanic. So things of that nature. Idolized images. When we look at pictures of the Greek gods and goddesses, their physique, the way they look is the Greeks saw the gods and goddesses as perfect. And so people try to mimic that in everyday life. Again, we've already talked about art, as you see in the statue there, and different paintings and other pieces of artwork. Literature, we'll talk later on. We'll talk about Homer, the author of the Iliad and the Odyssey, and how um, mythology played a role in those stories, which I believe you all have or have already read or looked at the Odyssey in your English class. Architecture. Some of you might be wondering, how is architecture affected by the Greek mythology? Well, you'll see in here and throughout this unit different pictures of temples, and you might say, well, you know what? That looks like the courthouse down in the square, or that looks like my grandpa's church, or something of that nature. And so you see a massive amount of influence that you probably didn't even think about prior to this. So, why did the Greeks create Greek mythology? Well, the mythology helped explain why certain things happen. The SOL puts it as this: it helped explain natural phenomena, why certain things happen. Why is it um, that we have rainbows? Why is it that the earth starts to shake when we have an earthquake? Why is it that the leaves change colors during fall season? These type of things are explained by Greek mythology, and you can actually look up different stories and of the ancient Greeks, which is actually kind of mind blowing. Some of it is a little bit disturbing if you can't think of it logically. Again, this is, or was, I should say, a religion. And so the Greeks believed in it as much as people today believe in Islam, believe in Buddhism, believe in Judaism, believe in Christianity. All the things that those religions talk and discuss, and how strong people believed in those things today, the Greeks believed in their religion back then. So I have a quick rundown of the ancient gods and goddesses and who they were. You have Zeus, he was the king of the gods, and each god and goddess had certain symbols or animals that would represent them. You have Hera, his wife, queen of the gods. You have Apollo. Now, Apollo is an interesting character. Apollo, his name does not change. When we get into our Rome unit after Christmas break, we will discuss their religion, which is very similar to the Greeks. But Apollo does not change. He is the god of the sun. You have Artemis, goddess of the hunt. Athena, goddess of wisdom. Aphrodite, the goddess of love. Demeter, the goddess of crops. Poseidon, a god of the sea. Hades, the god of the underworld. Ares, god of war. So these are the core gods. There were several others, and then if you do happen to go and start reading into the mythology of the Greeks, you'll see there's demigods like Hercules, Achilles, those that have a parent that was a god or goddess. And so it's a really interesting concept, and a lot of students really enjoy looking into those. So please feel free. So the reason why I have this image is that you can see that here are some modern um, influences of Greek mythology. The top image there is from Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. This is Fluffy, the three-headed dog who, in the Greek mythology, was the guardian of the underworld. It was the pet of Hades. And then at the bottom, you have your superheroes. Growing up in the 80s, watching a lot of Superman and Batman, and now, of course, with Marvel and its amazing series of movies, these ideas of super strength, superhuman strength, is still part of our culture today. And here's some pieces of artwork that the Greeks truly influenced. On the statue on the left is not Zeus. A lot of students think it's Zeus, but that is a statue of George Washington. Honestly, I don't think he was that buff, but again, it definitely shows a interesting concept of how the Greeks saw human form. You can see the tone physique of George Washington in the mind of the artist. And then on the right hand side, the Lady of Liberty, the Statue of Liberty that's in the Hudson Bay up in New York City. Again, very much Greek influence for both of those structures. This is what is left of the Temple of Zeus in Athens. This is the picture I took standing on top of the Acropolis, which we'll talk about later on in a different PowerPoint. As you can see in the background and in the foreground, modern buildings. Ancient Athens is really compact. They do try their best, especially here recently, to preserve their ancient culture. And one would think, with Zeus being the king of the gods, that they would want to keep especially this temple intact. But unfortunately, through history, through the elements of weather, as well as war, these temples don't last very well. But again, you think about it from the other side too. These structures are thousands of years old, and the fact that we still see several of the columns that are left is very impressive. This I like this picture a lot. This was when we were in Delphi. We had stopped there on one of the tours that day. This is leading up to the Temple of Apollo, and you can see the huge mountain there in the background. So I like using this image to show how rough of the terrain was for us when traveling throughout Greece. So that is it for today. Next time, when we talk about the next installment of Ancient Greece, part two, we'll be talking about the social, political, economic developments, as well as the Persian War. So please make sure to review over this video if you need to, and make sure, hint, hint, to send me the email with the bonus word. Once again, the bonus word is RAIN, RAIN. Be safe, and talk to you later.